The AYANEO 2S is probably right now the most powerful handheld on the market. It is also, since getting this, my most favorite handheld. Let me explain. The AYANEO 2S is AYANEO's latest flagship handheld and the successor to 2022's AYANEO. Yes, 2022, because one issue of AYANEO is that they release a lot of handheld, though that's for another video. If you just look at it from the outside, you will have a hard time seeing any differences. It is the same overall design, except that this one is obviously black and there are only some small tweaks here and there. For example, the left and right trigger are changed and now feel much better. But this lack of changes is not wholly a bad thing. I always believed the AYANEO 2 to be one of the most beautifully designed handhelds of the market. So them not changing a winning theme for me is a plus in my books. It is a gorgeous device. It has a full glass front completely hiding the bezels on the 7-inch screen, which is a portrait panel by the way. And that screen has a 1920 pixel resolution, a 60Hz refresh rate and uses an IPS panel. It is a great display, but the ROG Ally has a higher refresh rate at 120Hz. It has what I consider the best looking button and sticks combo. They are surrounded by these little plastic islands which remind me of the design of my all-time favorite handheld, the PS Vita. Though not only do they look great, they work fantastic too. The analog sticks are Hall sensing sticks made by GullyKit, which is the de facto producer of Hall sensing technology. And the ABXY buttons have a satisfying click, and so does the D-pad. I'm unfortunately not the best fighting game player, so I can't really say if this D-pad is the creme de la creme of D-pads, but I don't think you will have any problems pulling off some combos with the D-pad and these buttons. The AYANEO 2S also has these 4 buttons, of which 2 work as start and select button, and as for the 2 on the right, the one with the AYANEO logo opens up AR space, more about that later, and the button next to it shows the Windows desktop. As for the triggers and bumpers, they are fully functional too. The triggers are, like I said, updated compared to the ones in the AYANEO 2. On the AYANEO 2, when you hit the bottom of the triggers, you have some cheap sounding plastic noise. Now on the AYANEO 2S, there's a sort of cushion which makes for a much better experience. Both devices also have 2 additional buttons which work as some sort of macro button in Windows 11. For example, clicking the button on the left will open up the keyboard. And in case you wonder, it has a 6-axis dual gyroscope, motor vibration, 2 noise-cancelling microphones and bottom-firing speakers. The 2S has 3 USB-C ports, of which 2 at the top and 1 at the bottom. This is, by the way, what I think every other handheld manufacturer should do. Please give us at least 1 port at the top and 1 at the bottom. Though when it comes to these 3 ports, they are not created equal. Only this one on the right and this one on the bottom deliver full charging capabilities. The third one is for data transfers. And by the way, the 2 charging ones are USB 4, so you can technically connect an external GPU to this device. It has a power button with an integrated fingerprint sensor that I feel works better than the one on the ROG Ally. At least on this one, I get less false prompts than the one on the ROG Ally. Then it obviously has volume buttons, and here at the bottom it has a flap for the microSD card. Also, why does nobody else protect the microSD card that way? Looking at the back of the device, you will see, well, a lot of fingerprints. I love black devices, but this one is particularly bad when it comes to fingerprints. You also see this huge cutout for the fan inlet and at the top for the fan exhaust. In fact, the fan solution in the 2S differs from the one in the AYANEO 2. For one, as you can see, the exhaust has much larger holes. And they created a 3 copper tube solution compared to the prior 2 copper tube build. What this means is that this should theoretically run cooler and make less fan noise. It is at times still a loud device, however. It can't really compete with the 2-fan solution of the ROG Ally. But it can definitely compete in the terms of raw power. That's thanks to the AMD 7840U, which is basically the XL version of the Z1 Extreme in the ROG Ally. You will hear this name a lot because it will be the chip that other handheld manufacturers like AYN, GPD, AYANEO, Ambenic and so on will use in their handhelds. While the 7840U and the Z1 Extreme are similar, the 2S beats the ROG Ally in performance. Look at these graphs. Setting both devices to 15 watts, the 2S outperforms the Ally on nearly all the benchmarks. Though bear in mind that the ROG Ally has a higher refresh rate, so if I give these 2 devices more power, games on this might look better thanks to its 120Hz screen, while here they are limited to 60Hz. By the way, when you get this device, on AYANEO's website you can find a BIOS update that you should install. Carrie, aka ThePhawx, recommended it to me, and when I installed it I had much better performance. I have linked a guide down below on how to do that. But back to performance. Obviously the Steam Deck can't perform as well on these settings. Where the Steam Deck shines is at everything below 15 watts, and the lower you go, the better the Steam Deck will fare. It will always outperform these devices on lower wattages. But setting the TDP higher and to beyond what the Steam Deck can do is where this device will shine. And at 30 watts full turbo mode, the 2S will outperform the ROG Ally. And to even reach this, you need to hook up the ROG Ally to power. The AYANEO 2S can do this by running on battery, and you can even go as high as 33 watts, though not for long since it will empty that battery in no time. Which is one of the critique points I have, but it counts for all of these devices. If you care about battery life, all these devices will be empty before you potentially reach the next checkpoint in your game. At max power, I can get around 55 minutes out of the AYANEO 2S. At 15 watts it can reach a little over 2 hours, which is in a similar ballpark to the Steam Deck, though it has a 25% larger battery. But the 2S definitely lasts longer than its predecessor, the AYANEO 2. Also, the 2S has so much power that it sometimes gets very warm, especially on the right side of the screen. I bought an infrared thermometer for this video, so I gotta use it. Okay, that's hot. But like I said in my ROG Ally review, links down below, I don't really care about battery life. I have outlets everywhere, I have this chunky battery pack, and the AYANEO comes with probably the best wall charger I've seen so far delivered with a product. It's small, delivers 100 watts through its 4 different ports, 2 USB-C and 2 USB-A, and it had me genuinely surprised by how good this is. This now lives permanently next to my couch and saves me a few plugs. But not just in my couch, but also my travel pack thanks to its different adapters. As you know, I'm not only about benchmarks and raw numbers. When I test a device, I ultimately try to answer the question, how does it feel to use a device? How does it feel to live with it? So how does it feel to live with the AYANEO 2S? Honestly, it's great, which is why right now this is my favorite handheld. Compared to the Steam Deck or the ROG Ally, it just feels premium. It has also a premium price tag. It starts at $999 for the 512GB storage and 16GB memory option, but it doesn't feel outrageous. Though there is a cheaper Geek One S, which has the same power than the 2S but a lower spec screen, which might actually be the one I recommend to most people because it's similarly priced to the most expensive Steam Deck. But the 2S is expensive for a reason. What it feels like, the materials used, the premium quality. Some people might not like that comparison, but it feels like the Apple of handhelds. High quality, maybe a bit expensive at times, but the overall package is top notch. And I think you can see what I think about Apple. Also, the 2S runs Windows 11, which means it runs native Game Pass, and I love Game Pass, and it can run all the games from all the launchers without having to do weird dances in Proton. As much as I like Proton on the Steam Deck, it sometimes needs a bit too much work, especially if it's a game that is not part of Steam. Though I really don't like AirSpace. It doesn't run at native resolution, has weird translation issues, sometimes no translation at all, especially after an update, and while it does its job to change voltages and fan speeds and all that stuff, I just don't enjoy using it. I hope AirSpace 2 is around the corner and fixes most of my gripes. So can I recommend the AYANEO 2S? Well, kinda. It's probably the best handheld you can get right now. It's the most complete package, but it comes at a price. And because of that price, it's not for everyone. I think the AYANEO 2S is for that type of user who, when building a PC, pays a little extra to get a nicer case, pays a little extra to get the TI version of a GPU for a bit more FPS, and would pay a little extra to get matching memory sticks with their motherboard. You know who you are, and if you are into handhelds, this is for you. And to be frank, I'm literally that guy. The channel is called Overkill for a reason, so this one is just for me. Thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe to the video if you liked it, and if you have any questions, write them down below. See you in the next one. At 15 watts, it can reach a little over 2 hours, which is in Steam Deck. At 15 watts, it can reach a little over 2 hours. That is Steam Deck. Okay, that's hot. Geht das aus dazu witzig?